What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we are celebrating the new year by having a little bit of a look at shadows and how those creatures are really hard to actually destroy. Happy New Year to all you lovely ladies and gentlemen out there. Let's get rolling, shall we? Now, initially with shadows, we could look at EVASION SIGIL. Now, it's an artifact, and it's got an Ember bonus, which is always nice. And it says that before a creature fights, discard the top card of its controller's deck. If the discarded card is of the active house, exhaust that creature with no effect. So you could use that to protect some of your Shadows creatures. It's not really the point of this video, but I had to mention it. Similarly, we've got a couple of creatures which kind of protect you in a weird kind of way. So we've got Bad Penny. Bad Penny is a 1-power creature. 1-power creatures, this might shock you, not terribly powerful. But when destroyed, you return Bad Penny to your hand. So although it's fairly easy to destroy and there's no skill or any of that, you can't really get rid of it. Now, you can purge it and all of that, and there are cards that can get rid of it. But generally speaking, you have Bad Penny, and because you're not really ever going to be getting rid of anything, Bad Penny, as far as I've been playing her anyway, really is a reaping creature. You sit there, you reap with Bad Penny, but then, when it gets destroyed, back to your hand, straight back down again, continue the reaping cycle. And one of the most interesting creatures, and not just in Shadows, in the game itself, is Shadow Self. It's a 9-power creature, which is huge, but it deals no damage when fighting. But damage dealt to a non-spectre neighbour is dealt to Shadow Self instead. So it's basically like a damage sponge. You whack it down, you let it take a whole bunch of damage, and you chill until it goes down. Because I suppose you could reap with it, but other than that, it's just there to protect your other creatures. But really, what I'm focusing on is the sheer number of creatures in Shadows that have Elusive and Skirmish. So Elusive is a skill that a whole bunch of Shadows creatures have. When I say a whole bunch, I mean 11 out of 20. That is 55% of all Shadows creatures have Elusive, which is huge. Which says that the first time a creature is attacked each turn, no damage is dealt. So you can go after that creature, and that's fine. You've just got to do so twice, because the first time it doesn't do anything, which is a little bit of a problem. I mean, to be fair, it takes damage back, but it doesn't actually do anything the first time round. That's a bit of a problem. And we've also got Skirmish. Now, Skirmish I enjoy very much indeed. When you are controlling the creature with Skirmish, when you attack, when you try and deal damage, when you fight, you do damage, but you take no damage back in return. That in and of itself is kind of hilarious. So we have a look at the creatures in Shadows that have Elusive. We start off with Bulleteye. Now, Bulleteye is a 2-power creature. It's not terribly powerful, but every time you reap, you destroy a flank creature, and you've got Elusive. That's pretty powerful. You can get rid of a lot of creatures. It's the perfect kind of elusive creature, whereby you've got to deal with it, because if you don't deal with it, it just keeps reaping and taking out your flank creatures, while having Elusive and forcing you to essentially fight it twice to get rid of it. Deipno Spymaster is a 1-power creature. Yeah, I should mention these Shadows creatures are extremely weak. But it's got an Omni ability, meaning it can be used regardless of your active house. Choose a friendly creature. You may use that creature this turn. That's house cheating. That's phenomenal. Oh yeah. And you got Elusive, so it's hard to take this down. We also see Faygin here, which is a bit weird because it's kind of like a fictional character which has been popped into Keyforge, which always weirds me out a little bit. Got Elusive, that these all do, that's kind of the point. When you reap, you return an Urchin from play or from your discard pile to your hand. Now this is important because Urchin, which also has Elusive incidentally, has a great little play ability whereby you steal an Ember. So having Faygin reaping, you get an Ember, and then you get an Urchin back either from your discard pile or in play, which means you can then immediately play it down and steal an Ember as well. Faygin's going to get you quite a lot of Ember quite quickly. Thematically, with the fictional character, Faygin does work quite nicely. We've got Mack the Knife. You may use it as if it belonged to the active house. As a free power creature, that's awesome. And you can, as an action, deal damage to a creature, and if it destroys them, gain an ember. So once again, we got a really nice creature that your opponent does not want to leave on the field, but you've got Elusive. We also see Magda the rat here. When you play it, you steal 2 ember. When it leaves play, your opponent steals 2 ember. So again, they want to get it off the field as fast as possible because they essentially get their ember back. Although this one your opponent could time, they can just leave it for when they really need the ember and destroy it at that point. We have Nexus, a free power creature. When you reap, you get to use an opponent's artifact as if it were your own. Well, that's going to come in handy. We've got Noddy the thief. It's got an action that steals an ember, which is okay. I'd rather something like Mooncurser, that when you fight, you steal an ember. Or Dodger, that when you fight, you steal an ember. Although, ironically, Dodger is one of the very few Shadows creatures that has neither Elusive nor Skirmish, while being called Dodger. Bit weird. We've got old BRUNO, that when you play it, you capture free ember. And this is one of the ones where your opponent can essentially ignore it a little bit more, because when it comes down, it's super annoying. But actually, when it's down, it's just a free power that can fight or reap. It's not a phenomenal creature when it's on the board. And to be honest, destroying it just means your opponent can then get it back out their discard pile and then potentially play it to capture free more ember. It's not one of those like we looked at that has to be taken down at the earliest opportunity. And then finally, we've got Smiling Roof. It's only a 1 power creature, which sucks. But when you reap, if you forged a key this turn, you get to take control of an enemy flank creature. And I'm sure I don't need to tell you that taking control of one of your enemy's creatures is great. You can reap to get ember, or you can just turn your opponent's creatures on each other, which can be kind of funny. Now, in terms of Skirmish, I like Skirmish a lot more. I love the idea of having a creature that can just sit there and attack and not take anything back. But we don't have many. The thing is, the ones we have are really quite good. So Mooncurser's got Skirmish, but it's also got Poison. Now, it's only a 1 power, but when you fight, you steal an ember. Now, remember, fight skills come in if you survive the fight, but if you've got Skirmish and initiate the fight, you will survive the fight. That's what Skirmish does. So essentially, every time you fight, you're going to get that ember. Now, Poison is very fun. Poison says if you deal any damage while fighting, you destroy the creature regardless of their power. So you come across a Khalifi dragon, boom, it goes down. And weirdly enough, we got Macis Asp here as well, which is very, very similar in that it's got both Skirmish and Poison. Now, it doesn't steal an ember when you fight, which sucks, but it is a free power, which means it might be able to survive being attacked by a couple of your opponent's creatures, whereas Mooncurser will never survive a fight from anything, because as a 1 power creature, it literally can. There's nothing weaker. It's going down. Now, the other one with Skirmish is Umbra. No Poison here, unfortunately. And this one, another one that's got the same skill as Mooncurser. When you fight, you steal an ember. And remember that because of Skirmish, every time you initiate the fight, you're guaranteed to survive. So it gets you an ember every turn. It's only a 2 power. So whereas someone like Mooncurser, you are going to destroy the creature because you've got Poison and you're going to steal the ember. With Umbra, you're going to steal the ember, but because you're a 2 power, you're not going to destroy all that much. Though I do need to give a quick shout out to Carlo Phantom, being the only creature from Shadows which has both Elusive and Skirmish. Now, it's only a 1 power, it kind of has to be, but you can fight knowing you're not going to get killed, destroyed, and when your opponent attacks you the first time, you know you're not going to get destroyed. This is going to stay around for a while. As for the skill, each time you play an artifact, steal an ember. Now, that really depends on how many artifacts you're playing, but imagine if you were to get this in a deck with something like Barehanded, where you get to put all your artifacts back on top of your deck, and then you're going to draw them all, and then you're going to play them all, and then you're going to get a whole bunch more ember. That would be kind of funny. I like Shadows. I did a video a little while ago about how they're really good at stealing Ember. I'll pop a link to that one in the description. But they're really hard to actually take out as a house. I mean, to show you the numbers again, including Carlo Phantom that is both, 11 out of 20 or 55% have Elusive. 4 out of 20 or 20% have Skirmish. And only 30%, 6 out of 20, have neither. But that includes Bad Penny, who goes back to your hand when you get destroyed, and Shadow South, who's just there as a damage sponge. And you've got a house with creatures that they're gonna stay around. Now, of course, Elusive is not some kind of magic bullet. I mean, Untamed have Niffleape, who can just ignore Elusive, and far better than that, Perilous Wild, which destroys each elusive creature. So the fact that 55% of shadow creatures have Elusive is great, until you come across something with Perilous Wild, at which point it becomes a very, very bad thing. They even get an Ember bonus for playing that, which is kind of hilarious. But I wanted to talk about shadows, and I think it's really interesting how hard they are to take down. I mean, they are called shadows, right? The clue is in the name. And I wanted to make a Keyforge video to celebrate the new year. So I did. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful new year. And if there is a particular Keyforge video you would like me to make, or kinds of videos you want, let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, but please do remember the most important rule as always. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where I ramble about games and stuff. But by far the most important thing as always is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross and you've been watching Wossy Plays.